So I keep talking about how this year is going to be different and or potentially worse. Like, I keep talking about how things are different than last year, different obviously than the previous administration, the previous time that he was in the administration. And it's not just because I think there's going to be a certain desperation because of midterms. Clearly, everything is turned up to 11 this time. And I think it's not just because they know this, oh God, hopefully is the last turn at bat, but you also have health issues popping up. And I'm not like a lot of people that are, I'm not going to diagnose anybody. I don't think anybody else should be either. But you have a lot of things happening that don't make sense unless you think of this as somebody who is on a mission to create an empire, or a legacy, I guess, to leave a lasting monument to his brilliance, and in some ways literally doing that with like the stupid ballroom that, came out of the blue, just, hey, I'm going to knock over part of the White House. There's also that stupid Arc de Trump nonsense that is going on. He's literally building his own monuments because nobody's going to build them for him. Like, there's a solid 28% of the country that is super mega, but there's nowhere near enough to actually create anything after he's gone. So he knows that, I think. So that's why he's doing all this stuff and keeps bringing up these wild things like taking Greenland, giving, what is it, $10,000 to $100,000 to each person in Greenland if they secede from Denmark and become one of our, state. I don't know. They keep talking about things like sanctioning the UK because, Twitter might get banned. Keep pissing off our allies all over the place. And I can only imagine, because he doesn't feel like he has much time left. He's trying to make big changes. Unfortunately, the two changes he could have the biggest impact outside of, doing things here would be actually ending the war in Ukraine, which he hasn't been able to do and kind of stopped talking about. Actually ending the conflict in Israel with Gaza. People are still getting killed there constantly. And now he's threatening to do to other countries what we did to Venezuela, which is just unceremoniously black bag one of their leaders. Colombia, Mexico. Some of it's ego, but I think a lot of it is trying to build something that will last, and having this weird obsession with, well, if I make this deal in Greenland, I'll be known for making that deal. Like a Louisiana Purchase, or when we bought Alaska or something, or making Canada the 51st state. My God, like, what do we have to offer? Do you want to pay a lot more for healthcare? Do you want to potentially not have healthcare? It boggles my mind, but I think if you look at it from the perspective of somebody who knows his time is limited, who knows his time in office is definitely limited, or his time in power, like having all three branches of the government captured in a way, I think he realizes that time is limited too. And that changes things drastically. And unfortunately, I don't know how you come back from this as a country, as some sort of empire. How do you reform relationships with allies when it's so clear that you can just elect a ding-dong twice who will spit in the face of everybody who we've tried to create and maintain some sort of relationship. Germany's not happy. Multiple countries in Europe are obviously not happy. We're openly hostile to China, and I mean, Russia's probably fine. But what do you do after to regain any of that trust? Because it's not just a matter of, if it was just once, they would be like, well, you went through a crazy period. Maybe we'll just like sweep that under the rug. We did it twice. And with an approval rating now that's like 30%. So clearly we don't like him as a country, but he keeps getting in office. It's going to create a very difficult next, I don't know, 5-10 years. But I think it's going to also facilitate the undoing of the kind of the financial dominance that this country has enjoyed for a long time. And I don't think that's entirely bad, but I would like to see a lot more pushback now, because he's only going to keep doing things that he gets away with. And every time he makes some stupid claim and manages to make it happen, it just feeds the ego, and it makes him drive towards these desperate moves to be relevant in some sort of long-term historical fashion. I am supremely disappointed in Democrats, as always, with the thing with Venezuela, that we're basically, I guess, just past it. Like, now we'll have a trial for somebody for charges including having a machine gun, which, like, how do you charge somebody in another country with things that are just your laws? I don't know. It's going to get so much more desperate, though, the farther into this year we get. And I would look at everything from the version of a guy that is aging, extremely unhealthy, losing power politically, losing power in his own party somewhat, and headed towards midterms that could be trouble, that should be a resounding shellacking. This should be one of those midterms that is so overwhelmingly blue. The only reason I think that wouldn't happen is because Democrats aren't pushing back really at all. There's a handful that are doing work, and I appreciate those handful of people. But on the other hand, as a party, if you're not the opposition party, then why would they change to vote for you when it's time to get rid of that guy? It's so likely that the midterms end up being blue, but barely. And that puts you in a position where Republicans can still kick and drag their feet and stonewall and not agree to, get actually anything done, which is the position that Democrats are in now, but they can't do that. They're completely incapable of being an opposition party. And why would you vote for something that is just like less of a version of the thing that you don't want? I think that's what we're up against. I think that's what is going to be the real issue with this election, is there needs to be somebody that's pushing back, and that would be the only reason to vote in a crazy wave against MAGA specifically, but Republicans in general. And I don't know, we'll see. But I would definitely try to keep in mind, when you are trying to understand why some of this stuff is happening, just keep in mind this guy is literally just on his last leg and trying to create something that's going to outlive him. And he even jokes about it now. Like, he even jokes about, oh, I'm not going to heaven, probably not going to heaven because of all the stuff I've done. That's a guy that knows. He knows what's coming. And I guess that's the upside, is maybe the time left is less than we think. Unfortunately, there's a goober who is next in line that JD Vance is in some ways so much worse, and he has no charisma. I don't know if it'd be better or worse having him, but I guess we'll see at some point. But yeah, this is going to be the year of trying to build a legacy, trying to build his own monuments to his own self-aggrandized brilliance. And it's not going to work out like that. And hopefully it ends up in a massive, just a shellacking in the midterms. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if they put up more of a fight, they probably do better. So that's all I have for today. See you tomorrow.